Bonelab melee combat sucks, and here's why. This is no shade to Stress Level 0 or Bonelab or anything. It's a great game. Just a couple observations I made with the enemy AI in the game. So during my first playthrough of Bonelab, I couldn't help but notice how primitive their enemy AI and melee combat is. Most notably, when sucker punching enemies in this level here that you're watching. To unlock the strong avatar, you can see just how simple the AI logic actually is. So all the AI does is walk towards the player in a chase state, and then once the AI gets towards the player, it will attack, like you see here. There's also a falling state where it has to get up as well, but that's about it. All the AI does is really punch at you. And even slicing with the katana seems impowerful with how simple the enemies fall over after just a tap of the sword. And there's no dodging that attack, there's no running away from the player with the sword that will immediately kill him. It's just a tap of the sword and then the enemy goes down, like you can see here. Now that's great and all, but other VR games have also tried to implement thoughtful melee combat, such as Legendary Tales, which you can see in the background here, with an emphasis on anticipating attacks and attack patterns, similar to games such as Dark Souls, which allows for the combat to feel much more immersive and enjoyable. And you can see the enemy just dodging that attack as well. Whereas on the other hand, you have Half-Life Alyx, where there's essentially no melee combat at all. You're required to pick up an object to do any damage to an enemy at all, and when left empty-handed, you can't do even a single bit of damage. You can see you have to go and run up, grab something, and I'll just let this clip play. Couldn't even do any damage at all to the enemy. Bonelab's brother-in, Boneworks, has the exact same melee combat as Bonelab, with no advancements to enemy AI, switching from one game to the other. They've left enemy AI pretty much exactly the same as how they had it, with just on collisions from either the hand or from an object, the enemy gets damaged. The enemy damages the player with on collisions as well. On collision enters, and that's about it. And they can fall over, they can get back up, but that's about it. They just swing aimlessly. In my personal opinion though, the only VR game so far to truly give immersive and fun combat has to be Blade and Sorcery. Obviously in the clip you're watching, there's some mods showcased. The base AI is already leagues ahead of what Bonelab has. You can see here the enemies have a combat kind of stance state, so when they're not straight next close to the player, they kind of walk around them, strafe around. The enemies can dodge as well. They can fall just like Boneworks as well, but and there is some glitchiness of course, but it's much better. So I decided to just find out how hard it would be to make better melee combat than Bonelab. Imported Unity, deleted my stupid title scene, and then went immediately to the asset store, which you can see here. Reason being, Puppet Master. This is what Boneworks and basically every Unity VR game uses for animating a ragdoll. You can see the example here. So it allows you to have animations and physics. Next up, I booted up the demo scene that Puppet Master provides with a player and two enemies, to say, both just being on a nav mesh plane and running towards the player. But you can see here the enemies are running towards me, and as soon as they get close to me, they won't attack because there's no logic behind it, but they'll just fall over. So we're already about halfway to Boneworks AI, or enemy AI, and all we've done is import a Unity asset from the asset store, right? So next up is to make it better. So first thing, we imported a little character to Mixamo, grabbed a bunch of animations. This boxing one looks cool. Alright, we got various different punches. Then we wanted a sword one, so we got a little sword swing here, and we got a bunch of different animations as well. We're just gonna go ahead, download all that as an FBX to Unity, and then import that into our game. After we've imported it into the game, we make a simple animation tree using the provided animations, and then code up a couple hundred lines of code that only takes you a couple of days to do. And then after that, you're in game. Look at this. We've changed up the enemies, changed up some characters and everything, and added a bit of polish. But essentially, we have better enemy AI than Boneworks in a couple of days. So here we have an enemy doing some animations, attacking. Obviously this isn't perfect, haven't spent the time to tweak it and everything, make it a bunch more polished, but by simply just adding Mixamo animations, doing some AI state management logic and behavior trees and everything, we now have more enemy AI than Boneworks does, at least for their melee enemies. The ranged ones are actually pretty good. You can see here an example with the sword. There's also sword combos. I'll do another combo there. Boom, did one animation, then we'll go to the next after facing the player, and boom, there we are. Alright, and with all that done, now all you have to do is import everything, add some VR support, Hexa body player controller, advanced climbing mechanics, stabbable swords, stabbable enemies, grabbable enemies, full VR hands that work with forces and physics, and then you're just about done. And that's all there is to it. And even though Bonelab's melee combat and melee AI isn't the best in the world, they make up for it in various other aspects that many VR games cannot accomplish. Their ranged AIs are very, very good. The crablets are an awesome enemy that jump on your face and they work great. I just wish there was a bit more in terms of melee enemy AI that there could be potentially in the game. Though due to modded support and everything that Stress Level Zero has worked towards to make mods easy to create, I don't see that being too difficult of a task for the community. Thanks again for watching. I tried a different style video for this guy compared to the boring devlogs. I actually did a bit of editing, though not very well. If you like it, let me know down below. And yeah, have a good one.